Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Put.
Good morning, Earthlings. Welcome back from the weekend. How you doing? Did you have a good time? Hope you did. A lot of interesting information on today's show. Start things off with our cosmic weather. Look at the planets, the stars, the energy all around us. Starting off with today's alignments, we have the Sun in Gemini, the Moon in Cancer. Several of the aspects, the aspects we're looking at are all coming up later this afternoon. We have a conjunction between Venus, our imagination, and Gemini. We have a trine coming up later with Neptune and Cancer, and then Jupiter and Cancer as well is in a sextile later at 10:54 p.m. Neptune here wants us to look at things in a new perspective. Jupiter wants to expand things, so the areas where things are going to see this expansion and the need to take a new perspective are both in the Cancer areas. Water, emotions. Let me show you some of these signs. We know that Gemini is right here. Gemini is the lovers, male and the female, the conscious and the unconscious mind looking towards the superconscious. This is Cancer, Chariot, all about emotions. Okay, all about emotions. This card is how do we protect ourselves from the emotions? We put on the armor of God. Okay, everything about this is some sort of vehicle for spirit. Spirit travels through all of these things, and when we allow spirit to flow through us, we then have the opportunity to be able to move along the path, solving the riddles of life, moving through the dualities of life. We move straight down the path of life, but we have to have spirit flowing through. Otherwise, we're ignorant of the process of what's going on. We're just trapped. And part of the issue with Cancer, it's the water sign. So everything about this is protecting ourselves from the emotions. Because when our emotions get affected, it really affects everything that's going on in our life. Very important. When the water in our world, which is the emotions, when the water gets all upset, think of an ocean, think of a lake, think of a body of water when it's upset, how that can be. So we want to calm the water in ourselves so that we're not all chaotic as well. So we have some imagination that we need to mix in here. Imagination. Imagination in how we make the choices we make. Conjunction is where these two are right next to each other. Okay, so water and air for today. We have an alignment that's going on. I wanted to show you. This is an alignment called the Grand Cross. Grand Cross of 6616. Below you find a sidereal chart for the dawn of June 5th, 2016. There are three coinciding astronomical phenomena of cosmic and esoteric significance. The new moon of Sylvan appearing in the Pleiades, superior conjunction in the Sun and Venus in the Pleiades, and a grand cross between the four major planets and the signs of the faces of the Ezekiel chariot. Okay, the new moon in the Venus to Bull, Jupiter on the North Node in Lion, Saturn, or the gatekeeper of knowledge in the Eagle or the rising Phoenix, the Neptune, master of the transcendent bridge of the soul in the sign of the man or the Messiah, and the water bearer. Okay, so you can see where all of this is, how it's aligning, and a couple nice little videos or graphics here to show you. Okay. So what's the point of these Astrological signs, well, signs of the season, so we understand what's going on. Signs of the season, to look at them to help us see some of the things that are taking place. We use them as basically road signs. The moon phase currently is making its way back up now to a full moon. It's 3.4% of the way there. The new moon was over the course of this weekend, Saturday night. Our full moon will be on the 20th of June, early in the morning, 4:02 a.m. California time. The Jewish calendar today is 29 Lyre, Omer count 45 going on into 44 going into 45, excuse me. Daily thought is more than they knew. The divine breathes within the words of the sages, even those things they wrote but they themselves did not grasp. Even that can be found in the nuances of their sayings and their writings. Space weather solar wind is currently at 548.6 kilometers per second. Planetary K index unsettled at the moment with a 4. Possible 6 storm as we get into the course of today over the next 24 hours. One corona hole off to the left here, otherwise nothing much. Geomagnetic storm activity stable at 1%. M-class flare possible, or M-class is at 1, X is at 1, and geomagnetic storm activity is increasing. Mid-latitudes from 35 to 20, high latitudes from 25 or 50 down to 25. So things are decreasing in there. While the high latitudes we do have active going from 10 to 20, but the severity is dropping. So some activity, not complete severity. And finally, looking up at the sky tonight, we do have the cross that is forming. We do have says, is your sky dark enough for you to see the Coma Berenices star cluster naked eye? As soon as twilight is completely over, look to Jupiter, about 25 degrees, about 2.5 fist arm's length. The cluster is dim but big, at least 5 degrees wide, the size of the golf ball at arm's length. It's the brightest star. Near its middle, they form a sort of inverted Y shape. Okay, so there you go. A little brief about what's going on with the cosmic weather. UFO news is up next.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk. Thank you very much. Let me bring this page up here. There we go. Okay, we have 5 sightings for you today. 5 of them. 5 sightings. First sighting here comes to us from Henderson. This took place on the 3rd of June. It's recorded over Las Vegas. There's a high probability that they are UFOs. This is an area near Nellis Air Force Base where, whoa, look at that, where Tall White's underground base is located. Okay. So it says, I'm glad I was patient enough to stay outside a little while longer last night. Nothing happened for the first hour and a half, and it was still really hot, so I was getting ready to go inside and chill out. This is a good example of hanging in there because 3 different events happened. I got some footage of objects in the North Valley which led to these ones over Henderson. While I was happening, another west started on the mountain about 9 miles from my home. Really like this particular video though. It clearly shows a minimum of 3 UFOs together brightly lit up. In reality, there were probably quite a few more that just stayed low key. I honestly believe that there were probably quite a few more that just stayed low key. I believe they are here every single day in one form or another, but we just don't see them all the time. Right, very interesting. So some good captures right there. A couple of interesting objects. Alright, this is another shot. It's supposed to be up at Mars. I say supposed to be because we've seen the shots from Greenland that seem to indicate there could be up at Mars. And of course, if any of you have seen the new movie The Martian, It's been out for a while. It's, had some great success. One thing that movie has proven is that one could fake a mission to Mars. And if you watch that movie, you see the NASA symbol all over it. So I'm sure most people would watch that movie and think that, oh, look, these are the things that NASA can do. Yes, NASA can make movies just like Hollywood does because they use the same techniques and maybe some of the same filmmakers. We need to be aware of what we're looking at. We need to understand now that NASA could do whatever it wants to do because the general public has bought into the story. It's been very evident looking at the footage because people now believe this is what's capable in space. This is the reality of what's out there. But it's not the reality of what's out there. It's the reality of what Hollywood wants to tell you. It's the reality of the story they want to tell you. But I always like to think of NASA as the National Association of Space Actors. And officially, now that Matt Damon has made the movie, he can officially call himself a true member of NASA, member of the Space Actors Program, because that's exactly what he was. Thought it was a really good, well done movie, well acted, very much enjoyed it. But one could see that we could easily fake this. So we've seen the footage of Greenland showing that these land masses and the areas out there look similar to what we're shown on Mars. We've seen some strange anomalies, and here is one of those. Looks like this, the enhanced version, perhaps like this, trying to show us as one of these fighters from the Star Wars movies. I said, could this possibly be the weaponized robotic machines from the Martian surface? Advanced mechanical devices built on operated by off-world extraterrestrial species. This one is truly bizarre and very interesting. Okay, the video here is a minute 53 seconds long. This was discovered on Mars by the Curiosity rover, or at least we are told so. And let's see, as it gets closer to the object, we begin to see. Hey, look at that. So, what is that? Is it really one of these things here, one of these type of fighters that we saw in Star Wars, or not? Or is this just a toy and this is Greenland and they're toying with us? Alright, moving on. UFO apparently going home through a portal. This is the apparent portal right here opening up. There's the little UFO. Claims of an alien spacecraft have emerged after intriguing footage appears to show strange aerial events that involve a UFO being sucked into a portal. A strange, swirling white vortex can be seen in the blue sky in the 45-second video as it coils. It becomes smaller, and the background of the video produces a sound commonly heard from a large airplane or a jet flying at low altitude. As the vortex continues to decrease in size, a small glowing ball of light apparently appears in the bottom left corner of the clip. The UFO allegedly rises up to the center of the portal. Once it reaches there, it seems that the white formation swallows it, making the mysterious thing disappear without a trace in the blue sky. Miss Mysterio Canal uploaded the video on YouTube a few days ago, and has been viewed thousands of times. However, it's hard to tell where the UFO video was shot. Where it was shot, it was entitled Dimensional Portal. Some viewers doubt the video's authenticity. One suggests it could be digital effects. Another believes it is just a plain tornado. Okay, well, it doesn't look like a tornado. Looks like something else. Very bizarre. Look at that. That is an interesting one. And no, that is not a tornado. And that object is flying towards it. And it's going to go into it. And it disappears once it gets into it. Alright. So, very interesting. A little close-up shot of it so you can see it again. And bye-bye UFO. Okay, triangular object moving low in Illinois. Moving low in Illinois. When UFO is reported, or say someone bothers to know who what and where to report. The most common ending is these sightings turn out to be 90%, probably more, are more perfectly identifiable objects. Most UFOs are not UFOs at all. For decades now, Sky and Eyes have met to witness the puzzling unidentified flying objects. Termed as UFOs, they are simply flying vessels. Extraterrestrials have come a long way to revealing their colors purposefully. As the saying goes on, aliens have remained to be riddle inside of a mystery wrapped in an enigma. Why? Well, first of all, the field demands evidence, which is clear and actual. However, most people present awful video and blurry photos. However, then there are also well-intentioned witnesses. According to the testimony of case 76 from the MUFON database, a resident of Illinois at Spring Grove claimed to spot a massive illuminative triangle-shaped object May 22nd, 9:30 p.m. The object was approximately at that time while driving south along Wilmot Road. The witness noticed the object at estimated feet of 200 feet above the ground. He drove closer. He was able to get 70 to 80 degrees from the horizon. To find a location to turn around, the witness continued driving in less than 1 minute. During that time, the mysterious object traveled northwest and was seen moving slightly and slowly angled. On the side of the road, the object became obscured behind the trees. Later on, it was visibly lost. An entire encounter took less than 2 minutes. Okay, there's the object in question. And one more UFO-related story here. This is about a being, an unidentified being. Security guards report seeing 4-foot-tall, winged humanoid. Some of the accounts that come from both Central and South America are pretty intriguing. Having spent there, I can tell you there's a pace and the people are very unique. You take things like this differently than those in the West. Here's a weird encounter in Chile from a strange winged creature. Security guard Oscar Valiento encountered a strange flying creature in Angel, Chile, 2008, while making his rounds at the Preventative Custody Center. He reports that he was walking around the perimeter and the buildings with 4 guard dogs when a winged creature flew down and pounced on the canines. The dogs were so frightened of the creature that they raced away from the scene. The guard watched as the winged creature flew up and landed on top of a 30-foot tall metal pole, causing the pole to shake under its weight. He describes the creature as 4 foot tall with a small head. While it was never close enough to make facial details, he did make out 2 pointed ears on either side of the head. He described the skin as dark gray and devoid of any feathers or fur. 2 long wings extend from the shoulders, and while the creature is perched on the pole, it tucked its wings in like a bird. The guard also saw 2 powerful lower legs and a pair of stubby arms just below the neck. The only sound coming from the creature was a sharp, loud, squawking cry that reminded the guard of a loudspeaker's crackle. Valde Benito reports that the encounter terrified him, and he was relieved when the creature flew off over several low-hanging power lines and out of sight. He told the authorities that during the encounter he saw a group of young boys walking along the nearby railroad tracks. They also spotted the creature but fled the area at the sight of the winged humanoid. Authorities say they weren't able to locate the boys. Alright, just one of the weird anomalies that are taking place in the world. I'll be right back. Stay tuned.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of them.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw a UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up. wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
Okay. So today I'm going to talk about some things that are a little bit controversial. I know you're laughing, right? Because I talk about things that are controversial quite often. So today will be no exception. You know, I've been doing a lot of studying, lots of studying on what's going on in the world, lots of study of prophecy. The subject I've been really delving into is history, the ancient history of what went on the planet. What is this story of the end times that we've heard? What does this mean? Who are the people involved? It's a big, 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 big story. I mean, you have so many things that seem to be tying together. First, we have the biblical story and the book of Revelation, which talks about Michael casting the Satan, the devil, out of heaven, the battle of the angels that took place there. We then have the story from the Babylonian mythology and the Anunnaki story of Alulu, who came down to Earth after his battle with up there in the Nibiru, and then he was certainly followed down to Earth then by Anu, Enlil, and Enki, two brothers, Enlil and Enki, who were involved with the creation of man. Genetically engineering was involved in the process, and then these two brothers had differences on how these creatures that were created should be handled. Of course, they were ultimately created for, slave labor to mining for gold with them, but things changed over time. We have the story of certainly of Lucifer down here on the earth. What was he involved with? What did he do? What did he didn't? Is he the character that was involved in the things that we've been told? We have the story from the Nag Hammadi library of Yaldabaoth, who was created in an unnatural way and then was cast down to earth, where he attempted to create humankind in order to trap God. Lots of stories. Lots of stories. When you look at them, it's really kind of complicated trying to see who's who, how they all fit together. But they do all fit together, and they seem to originate in a similar story. When we look at the stories of the Bible, we see stories that take us back 6,000 years. But when we have the stories of the Sumerians, it goes back hundreds of thousands of years. If we were to look at this timeline, and there's any accuracy to Zecharia Sitchin's timeline, we go back 400,000 years. The stories from Babylon, the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Enuma Elish, the stories that are available to us about the Anunnaki and their interaction with the earth are stories that are the same type of stories that we have in the book of Genesis, but they happened a lot earlier. So it would seem to be that the stories that we have are all bits and pieces of stories that happened a long time ago. It would seem as if the stories of the book of Genesis and the Bible are versions of events that happened much earlier than that with the Sumerians, with the Anunnaki, and that the stories that we have later on could be compilations of some of these events. Whatever the case may be, it's a big picture. And it's a big picture that really kind of leads us on a path of seeking out what it is we're trying to find. The one thing I could say for certain in all of this is that the beings that we have been led to believe were the gods down here on Earth weren't. That they were simply beings who were able to come down. They had better technology than we have. They were able to travel to the planet. They were able to be involved with the process of what was going on here, but their intentions were in order to keep humankind in a state of servitude, which is, as we look at religions and how they grew up, they're all basically around the ideas of servitude. Throughout the course of this, there are a number of teachers who have been around to teach us, and of course, what I see as the most significant of those is the Christ who is manifest in the person of Jesus, Yeshua, um, and that the truthfulness that we get is when we look to what the Christ is about and understanding what he's all about. He's the central character in the story that is unfolding the book of Revelation, and the other central character that is there is the Antichrist. So here we are at these end times, or these times that we think of as end times, and we wonder, what does that mean? Is this the end of our planet, or is it just the end of a story? And I think it's just the end of a story. We're ending of one story, maybe his story, in order to begin her story. You see, one of the things that I have noticed is there was a takeover that occurred and an elimination of the mother. Because when we go to the Nag Hammadi library, in the text of the Nag Hammadi library, we find that whenever Jesus talks about God, he refers to mother and father God, the mother and the father. The stories, Apocryphon of John, Origin of the World, the stories that go out throughout that series of texts are all about the feminine and the masculine working together to create life. And that you had the father and the mother interacted, and once they interacted, a spark was created, the Christ light, and that light is a combination of both masculine and feminine. Combination of both, and this light went out and continued to create until we've come to the place where we are now through various different channels and various different beings that came on. Here we are with the stories of the Christ, this being down here on earth. And we're told that Jesus was born of Mary, and that he is of the bloodline of David and King David. But if you think about it, that's not accurate, because we're told that Jesus was immaculately conceived. So if this was an immaculate conception, it didn't come from Joseph. If this was a situation where he was an implant, again, it didn't come from Joseph. So whatever that line was, that was the patriarchal line that came and extended from the Anunnaki on downward. It ended when Mary became impregnated in some way that wasn't by Joseph, because it wasn't his DNA that was continuing on. It was the DNA of this other being, God, extraterrestrials, whatever it was, and Mary. So things changed, and the mother was put back in position where she had been removed from, because as we go and we read through the ancient Sumerian texts, we see that there was a point in time where the mother was revered, and then there was some sort of a takeover, and the mother was pushed aside, and always presented was the masculine, the father. Now, and let me backtrack because I misspoke there. The father, when we hear the term father and Jesus is talking about the father, sometimes we want to confuse that with father as being masculine, the male, and that's not the case. If we think of father as the head of something, the head of the organization, then the father energy is both masculine and feminine. It's a combination of both. So we have the father energy, the father of all things, the head energy of all things, combination of male and female. And that's how all things are, combinations of male and female. But leading up to this earthly incarnation in this physical reality, things weren't physical like this. It wasn't a situation where somebody was, in a physical body that was both male and female. Because when we come into the bodies down here, we make a choice, one or the other. And we enter that body as either a male for the lifetime or a female. Now, I know that there's a lot of confusion going on these days of people thinking they switch back and forth. Not certain what the whole reason that they have this feeling is, but I do know that it is, once you make your choice to go in, changing a few body parts here and there doesn't make you one or the other. That's just plain simple biology. If somebody doesn't understand that. I don't know how to explain it anymore. It's simple biology. Men have certain chromosomes, women have other chromosomes, and you don't just change the chromosomes. Okay, it's like I said before, this isn't arts and crafts. You just can't cut parts off or glue parts on and say that you're another gender. Doesn't work that way. And when we look to the information of the universe, it's very important here is the Hermetic philosophy. I bring this up quite a bit. The last principle is the principle of gender, understanding how things work. So if we're in a situation where we are completely misunderstanding how the energies of life work, we got a problem. We've got a big problem, because then we're not going to create the way we need. So here we are. We've had a lot of information. We've had a lot of stuff thrown at us, and we're at a point in time where chaos seems to be getting more and more prevalent upon the earth here. So where are we going? What is this all about? Does this have a point? Well, it seems to be. If we look at the book of Revelation, there seems to be a story unfolding. And if we follow the storyline, we can find our place in the story and try to identify some of the characters involved. Part of understanding the story and to know when a certain part of the story is unfolding is to pay attention to the signs around us. They're all around us. We look at nature, we look at what's taking place, and we can get clues. So here we have one that talks about this event that's happening today. It says, prophecy alert, all eyes on the 6-2-16 false Messiah Venus occultation sign. It says, once in the history of the world, sign in the heavens is going to occur on June 6th, a rare occultation of Venus, realizing that Venus has associations with Lucifer, and just as heavenly signs foretell the arrival of the great God, the Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ, so it makes perfect sense too that the coming false Messiah would also have a sign in the heaven, albeit a demonic one. Not that the devil made this sign occur, but he will use it in his grand deception. And yes, the Satanists are all excited. In Los Angeles, they are planning to create and celebrate this by creating a large upside-down pentagram around the city of Lancaster. So, very exciting for them to be out there doing that, but that's not something that is the best intentions for everyone else. This is a rare Venus occultation sign of the strong possibility of the sign of the coming false Messiah, aka the Antichrist. If this is the case, then the dates at esoteric intervals before or after may have major Antichrist-related events associated with them. And here's a video. I'm going to leave that for you to watch. Okay. We also have Ramadan has begun. Ramadan is the holy month for the Islamic and Muslims. It is the time that is commemorating when Muhammad got his message, one of his first messages about the Quran, supposedly from Allah. And during the time of Ramadan, there's fasting that's involved, but there's also times of jihad and conquest that are involved. And one of the things that here in America we have found out that our agencies are getting are warnings saying that there's going to be jihad in America during the course of this month. It also, in case you aren't aware of this, I wasn't aware of this till just a couple of days ago, that on the 31st of the month, Obama declared the month of June to be LGBT month. So LGBT month is now here, declared by Obama as a proclamation because he thinks he's the king. He declared that during the same time as Ramadan, in which we're now getting messages saying that there are sleeper cells in America that it's time for them to wake up and begin attacking over the course of this month. We'll see what happens. A lot of it could just be a lot of talk. But nonetheless, we need to pay attention because there are signs around us showing things are happening that are a bit more supernatural. We need to pay attention. Here's a video I'm going to leave for you. I've not minced words on this before, and I'm not going to start right now. I believe Obama is the Antichrist. I believe the signs are there. Here's a 32-minute video talking about that actual thing. See, I'm not the only person who thinks this. I simply look at the signs that are around and see the activities this man is involved with, and it's real easy to kind of connect the dots if we're really paying attention. Now, this piece here is a story that's probably not going to get me any favor with members of the Islamic community, but I don't care. This is a story that comes out. It's about a book that was written. It says, Archeologists discover a 4,000-year-old archaeological find linking Allah to Lucifer and the Harlot religion. And this is by Walid and Theodore Schubat. 4,000 years old is as close as we can get to connecting how old Allah is as a deity, his relation to the Great Rebellion, sex war, everything. I made excavations at 4 different ancient sites in the central Anatolian province of Yozgat in the Uzaka Mound at the Bortek Hasik village in Turkey that laid a cuneiform tablet unearthed after laying there 4,000 years, so since 2000 BC. This cuneiform tablet in the Sorgan district of Yozgat shows symbols of Ishtar, known as the Hittite goddess of love, war, fertility, and sexuality. Ishtar, the queen of harlots, goddess, was found unearthed more clearly in this cuneiform than any of the other unearthed tablets. Linking Ishtar to other archaeological relics also written in the same cuneiform is the Epic of Astrasas, in cuneiform dating back just as far 1700-1800 BC, which reveal that this ancient deity known as Ishtar and the snake beast god known as Istarian, another name for Allah, who is literally mentioned in the epic by name, who was a transvestite, dual male and female nature. The epic of Astarsas is the Mesopotamian account of the Great Flood, which was the corruption of the biblical account of Genesis, where Satan rebelled against Yahweh. This epic, translated by archaeologists who did not cover up the name Allah at the beginning of the epic, where all the gods are laboring in slavery for the head deity, Enlil, who was the rebellious deity named Allah that revolts against Enlil, and Enlil crushes the rebellion and then defeats Allah, who was called Tammuz in Sumerian mythology. Yes, the defeat of the rebellion caused by the Great War. Allah is not considered evil, but his loss is lamented over. So they're connecting here. We've heard Tammuz from the Bible. Goes back to Babylon. And connecting him to Allah. So Allah, Tamaras are different names of the same deity. Allah, who is the epic referred to as Ishtaram, who according to archaeology is the beast, and literally of Ishtaran is frequently represented on Curtis is the snake, biblically from Genesis, the snake, to Revelation, the beast, these associated to Lucifer and the devil. Okay, so anyway, more to the story, right? So I don't know where this all fits in. I'm just starting to look, or what I'm looking at is the events that are taking place. We have this story that alludes, not just this, but the revelation and the story of life that alludes to an end time event which is occurring. During the end time, we have the appearance of the Antichrist. The Antichrist in the story here connects to Allah. We're hearing a lot about Allah these days. We're hearing a lot about the Muslims and the Islamic religion that is moving into the world. And then we also now are finding that Allah has connections to Lucifer. And the mention in here of the alleged transvestite nature of Allah. And here we are in the world, and we're seeing a whole lot of stuff going on in America all about transvestites, transgenderism. So where did this all connect? Don't know. But it seems like it's connecting because there's a lot of pieces that are all seeming to come together. I think we need to pay attention, my friends, because something is happening. Something is definitely occurring that we need to be aware of. You know, when we look back at history, in 622, Muhammad and his band of followers, they infiltrated other countries in an invasion. And the way they did that was through a Trojan horse by migrating into the countries. Here we are in 2016, and we have all these migrants migrating in, but what we find mixed in with these migrants are jihadists. Same way they did back then. So history is repeating itself, but we seem to be turning a blind eye to that, unaware of the history that evolved. There's a saying, those who don't remember the past are doomed to repeat it. We seem to be caught in a loop, and we're repeating some sort of history, and here we have something to deal with that could be very significant to our reality, to our world. So, again, we need to pay attention. I believe this is the time to, if you haven't already, you need to turn towards the Christ. You need to understand what that light is about, because that's opposite of what this Lucifer rebellion, of what this Allah is about. It's certainly opposite about what Obama's about. You know, on and on and on. We see signs of destruction and decay taking place in America, all led by this man who is not an American. He's an usurper to the throne. He, on one hand, claims to be Christian, but we understand because of his upbringing that he's Muslim. He has connections to the Muslim Brotherhood. He has so many connections to the Antichrist and fulfills so many of the things that point out to who he is. He's gay, and we understand that his wife, Michelle, is apparently a transvestite, and the whole world is going crazy, or America's going crazy with all these new transgender laws and that are being put in place. And we seem to have a whole bunch of Americans who are very confused because even though they came in one body part, they want to switch that to be something else. But not only that, we have the gender fluid nature, which has people changing back on the hour and being whatever they want, and that's just considered normal. And the rest of society is supposed to understand all of this and use the proper pronouns to address somebody, even though the person they're addressing may be changing who they are an hour later. Somehow we're supposed to keep up with all of this. As you could see, it's all a big mind game. Okay? We need to find a way, my friends. We need to really find a way to avoid the confusion. The way we avoid the confusion is we go inside. Because as long as we're looking outside, we're going to see the confusion. That is where the confusion exists, in this outside material reality. Now, all of these things that have occurred have taken place all under the watchful eye of the Father, the Mother, the Father, Holy Spirit. So there's nothing that is happening that is unknown to the great Creator. The reason that all this is going on is to fulfill the storyline and give those of us here an opportunity to be redeemed from the situations that we're in, whether we are beings that are fallen angels or whether we are humans that are trapped, that has spirit trapped, that is trying to get free. Either way, we're looking for a redemption. And the redemption goes with understanding that we live in a reality of fire, water, air, and earth. Down here on the earthly realm, we're subject to particular rules and laws of the earth, but there is fire, water, and the air, which means we have to understand that the physical reality is not the be-all, end-all. And when we look around out into the world, what we're seeing is the physical reality. When we close our eyes, when we go inside of ourselves, we're connecting in deeper with what's going on, with a reality that cannot be manipulated the way the outside reality around us can be and is being manipulated. So, where am I going with all of this today? I'm just hoping to present information for you to connect the dots. The story is such a big, big story that it really requires one just to kind of be able to understand that there's something going on and just be able to move forward trusting that despite all that's going on, this light that shines through us, this Christ light that shines through all things, is available to help us to evolve and move past our situations and the problems we're dealing with. And that's part of the excitement here. This is a time for heroes to arise, stand up against the darkness that is taking place. Because those who are out there doing these dark things, they have no qualms about presenting themselves right now. And those who are trying to stand up against it, they're being battled. They're being pushed against. They're having a challenge. But this is all the more reason why people have to stand up, say things, do things, stand up against the problems that are going on. Because if we don't, we're going to find our reality, our world is going to be completely different than what we know a reality should be. I want to show you a series of pictures here first before I move on, just so we know. This is what goes on with those who are in power here upon this planet. Okay? There's the Pope. Okay, flashing the devil horns. There's Obama flashing the devil horns. There's Bush flashing the devil horns. Cheney flashing the devil horns. Look, there's Clinton flashing the devil horns. There's Anton LaVey, the satanic Satanism, flashing the devil horns. There's Obama again. Karl Rove. There's the Pope. Clinton. And all back to him. So, why the heck are they all flashing the devil horns? Unless, of course, there's a big deception at hand. You see, I like to go back and like to always go look at the Nag Hammadi library. And in the Nag Hammadi library, in the Apocryphon of John, and it's in other places as well, but I like the Apocryphon of John, where Jesus actually tells John this story about this fallen being named Yaldabaoth, who was cast out of the immortal realms and ended up on Earth and was attempting to create humankind in order to trap God. And this same being, the story of this being, mirrors the story that we have of Yahweh. A story that we look at as this is God, but we're told by Jesus that this is the fallen one. John chapter 8, verse 44, Jesus says that we are children of the devil, our father. Why would Jesus say that? Doesn't make any sense. But once you start to connect things in with the Nag Hammadi text and the other information there, it starts to make sense. See, this deception has been going on for a long, long time. It's a deception of who are the ones in charge of this particular reality, of this particular system. And within all of that, we're trapped in this grand illusion unless we choose to pull ourselves out of it. Unless we choose to pull ourselves out of this. And the only way we pull ourselves out of this is by paying attention. We don't pay attention, we don't pull ourselves out of it. We just keep following along blindly. And we could see this happening. So, I hope that what I've shared today simply stimulates your thinking to be able to go explore a number of these topics. In the near future, I'm going to be putting all of this together in a more cohesive manner. I'm just kind of throwing out to you ideas and stuff because, I've been studying pretty much nonstop about all of these things, trying to tie this together. And I've got graphs and charts and whiteboards with information, and and I'm getting through it, but there's a lot. And the story can be simplified once it's all brought together, but I can certainly tell you that there's a lot of different stories that are really the same story. And these stories all seem to go back and originate with the Babylonian stories because these are the oldest. The Babylonian epic, the Sumerian, Anunnaki stories, not the ones that just begin during the time of what we know is the Bible in 6,000 years, but hundreds of thousands of years. So anyway, I'm going to move on. I hope that this information made any sort of sense at all, and I didn't just sound like some rambling idiot. And if I did, well, I did. Can't help that, right? Sometimes we sound like rambling idiots, and it's all we do. All right. Here's a channeled message for today. Thought this one would be a good piece to play.
LEPAR, The Council, How Karma Works, June 5, 2016. In this selection, William LEPAR's spiritual source, The Council, tells us how karma works. Questioner: so, people really get themselves in a bad way in this life? That is not the way it has to be, like people who deservedly, if I can say that, get a traumatic disease, that does not have anything to do with the fact that they were real stinkers in a past life. It has to do with the fact that they did not change their way of activity, which caused the problems in the past life and is still causing problems in this life. The Council: well, you are oversimplifying it. There is a direct connection or a link there. They have not learned to act in love. They have not learned the respect for oneself that is necessary. How can you make proper choices, godly choices, if you do not like yourself, if you do not love yourself, if you do not respect yourself? The only thing that governs you in a case like that is your ego, the immediate what is going to feel good to me now, what is going to please my desires now, and so you act on that. Does that make sense? Questioner: yes. One other question. Between the lives, when you are not in the physical and you are laying out the life plan for the next life, are you thinking clearly in a godly self-loving fashion at that point? The Council: well, when the final point of actually planning out the lifetime, you have worked through all this hodgepodge of misthinking and misunderstanding, and you have centered back on the proper understanding, and that is that evolvement comes through the act of self-love and respect, and that same love and respect for others. So, your life is planned out that way. That does not eliminate the ego problem you have. You still have that choice that must be made. Will you take the avenue that is right, or will you take the avenue that pleases you the most? Questioner: where is that ego when you clear everything away and you are making your life plan? You don't have a problem with your ego at that point. The Council: no, because the ego is turned into self-esteem. It is a positive aspect. You need ego to carry you through life. There are two types of ego. There is a destructive ego, which is a self-serving ego, and there is the proper ego that fortifies the self-esteem. Questioner: that gets out of balance when you get back into the physical world. The Council: yes. For more on William LEPAR and the Council, visit www.williamlepar.com. Channeled by.
All right, very good. All right, so it's a nice little message, something to consider. What is karma? How does it work? Karma basically is an opportunity that, we create something, we do things, and it has an effect. And it's just understanding. It's just another word for helping to understand that what we do has an effect. So we need to take responsibility for the things that we do and understand that the things we do are going to have a consequence, and just be willing to accept that consequence, whatever it is. And if we do so, and if we're acting righteously, believing that what we're doing is right, then the consequence that comes, we can handle it, because we understand that that was what we knew was going to occur from what we did. So I think it's very important, if we go through the world and just are aware of the consequences of our actions, if we're aware of how we're treating others, if we're aware of the things we're saying and doing, of how they're going to affect the world, we might think twice. We certainly haven't. We've been inundated with so many different, diverse ways of looking at things that we've become inundated with with things that maybe not aren't the best for us. And in the world this day, we've got a lot of challenges. We have to take responsibility for the things that we do. So let's keep looking at that idea of karma as we're moving through the course of this day. Let's look at these ideas as we're out dealing with others. Let's understand that there's great change taking place in the world right now, and we have an opportunity to participate in this change. We can either be afraid of what's going on, which many people are afraid, and they don't even want to talk about it. They don't even want to deal with the change because they just act as if nothing's happening. And then there are others who are paying so much attention that their attention has turned to an obsession that has turned to fear, fearful of what's going on. And then you have others who are looking at it and saying, okay, let's deal with it. This is what we're here for. We came down here as spiritual warriors. We're here to assist in the process of change. Let's do this. And I know that there are a lot of those out there. I know a lot of you are out there in that role as one of the spiritual warriors here. And I applaud you for your efforts and your strength, because I know that there is a lot of challenge and there's a lot of ridicule that goes with the territory because people in this world aren't all on the same page. So let's really kind of pay attention because we're in a significant time here. We've got Ramadan. We've got this now month that he's just introduced here. Let's think of it this way. From a practical standpoint, we hear members of Islam, and we have here that there's a really strong stance against the homosexual lifestyle and agenda. So here in America, where there's millions of Muslims here, where they're going to be celebrating Ramadan, where they are part of a religion that doesn't think too much of the homosexual agenda, are going to be doing that in America, where the president has just decreed that this is a month celebrating the LGBT agenda, the LGBT lifestyle. Kind of runs contrary to what is going on. And this has all been orchestrated, this particular proclamation, by a man who claims to be one thing, but we know he's Islam. We know he's not American. We know that he is anti-Christian, who seems just to have his own agenda because his ego is out of control. He wants to be and thinks he's in charge of things. So he's just dictating what he wants to, not caring what any of the spiritual books or teachers say except him. So we need to pay attention. I know I keep saying that. It may sound too easy. You may wonder, what do we do? You just got to pay attention so that as we're watching these things unfold, we can take the proper actions. And the proper actions, sending out love, sending out positivity, just staying focused on the Christ, and keep calling forth that energy into the world, because there is great change that is upon us. And if we think that we can't be bothered with this change, well, guess what? The change is going to happen, and everyone's lives are going to be affected. The question is, how are we going to respond to that? Is this going to be a situation where the events occur, lead us to an end of the world situation because we handle what's going on improperly? Or are we going to use these moments of great change as an opportunity to bring and assist in great positive change upon the planet? That's our choice. A couple of paths we could go on. Which one will we choose? Well, I know which one I'm going to choose. Here's our meditation for today. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and exhale. Take another deep breath, and exhale again. Let's imagine ourselves walking down a path, and we get to a fork in the road. And we get to the fork in the road and we see a path that goes off in one direction, the left-handed path, and the left-handed path goes off And we hear partying and we hear things going on down that path, and we feel intrigued to want to go down that path. And then we see the right-hand path, and we hear and see things going on down this path. And we can't decide which way we want to go. So we close our eyes and we allow ourselves to feel the energy coming from either of these directions. And we feel that there is one of these paths that seem to be walking towards spirit, towards God, and one that seems to be walking away. So we choose the path that is walking towards God, that right-hand path, walking towards God, the path of righteousness. And as we walk that path, we can see others walking the other path. And as they walk that path, we see the changes that occur in them as they are affected by all this darkness that it begins to envelop them as they walk along that path. And we continue to walk along the path towards God. And we feel compassion for those who have chosen the other path, because we know some of them have done so, not of their own accord, but simply out of the conditioning that has been wrought upon them. So we walk the path, and we send out positivity into the world, that all might turn from the path of destruction to the path of righteousness, and begin to understand that the proper path in life is that which leads back to the divinity, to the source. A path that leads past all illusions of those who have claimed to be that source, but were only usurpers to the throne. So as we continue into the world this day, let's observe the world around us. Let's maintain our position, our movement along this path of righteousness. And let us just send out light, love, positivity into this world to help open the eyes of all who are moving along the path of darkness, whether willingly or unwillingly. And let us make our stand for God. Let us make our stand for the Holy Spirit. Let us make our stand for the Christ, and call forth that light which shines brightly through all of us out into this reality. Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, Christ light that shines within, we call forth your presence and ask and thank you for the blessings you have provided in our lives. We ask that we continually are able to move past the illusions of life and see past all of those that try to pervert our path, pervert our ways. And we thank you for your protections and blessings that keep us safe from harm while we walk in a world filled with chaos. For we understand as we move through this reality that we are all agents of change, bringing positivity, and that there are millions of us here gathered upon this earth to do exactly that. So let's just imagine ourselves walking along the path. Let's imagine the millions of people across this world who are walking the path of righteousness. Let's just imagine all of the positivity and all this positive energy, this love, this light that's being sent into the world, pushes through the darkness dispels the illusion and allows us to see clearly what is truly happening. So let the subconscious mind continue on this journey, sending out love, light, positivity, and let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3 coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2 coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1 coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That's the show for today. I hope you find some value. I kind of feel like I've been rambling a little bit throughout the course of the show, but I also know that there's a purpose to all of this. I've been studying, as I said, a lot. There's a lot of information. I'm just trying to put it together in some sort of cohesive manner, and I guess you're hearing me thinking through the process as we go. If you have any questions about anything, please do not hesitate to contact me. firstcontactradio@yahoo.com. You can also contact me through YouTube, Facebook. I'm glad to hear your thoughts, what you have to say. Remember, we're all in this together, my friends. The changes and the opportunities that we have to move forward are all in front of us. Things are unfolding. There's no doubt about that. Anyone who's paying attention could see that things are unfolding. It's only a matter of time till we really move into this next phase of change. I say it happens sooner than later. There's only so many days left during this particular term of Obama, and I don't think he's going to go away easily. And there's a lot of folks who don't think that either. So let's pay attention today, tomorrow, the rest of this year. Let's see what's going on, and let's know that we can all make a difference in this world simply by calling forth that light within to shine into this reality, to dispel the illusions that are going on, that all might see clearly. Remember, we're not just doing this for us individually, we're doing this for us collectively. All right? All right. That's it for today. I'll be back with more information. In the meantime, I love you. Keep loving each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.